So they say you can't be in two places at once. And they're probably right, because when I tried it, I got a speeding ticket. These two places that I'm going to talk about today are love and fear. You are either in one or the other, right? So let's talk about love first. It's a lot more fun. So being in love, you got to experience, well, you experience love all the time, but today in the meditation, you took on a little bit more love and got to hold it in your body. Love is peace. It's gratitude. It's confidence. It's standing straighter and taller. There's more room for love when you do that. Love is what's in this room. It fills you. It's wonderful. It's our connection with God. It's fabulous. I love being here in this place, right? I love. Well, then there's fear. Fear is shame, sorrow, fear's guilt, fear's regret, remorse. Fear makes my stomach hurt. Fear makes my shoulders bend, my back bend with the weight of it. Fear is very uncomfortable. Luckily, the Bible has any number of ways for us to move from fear to love. I don't know the Bible well enough to quote you chapter and verse as all the many ways to make this shift. For me, the shift is like Annie Lamont said, she spends about 20% of her time thinking about where her feet are. Just look at your feet right now. They're planted on a carpet in a beautiful sanctuary. Being present is a way to shift from the fear to love. It's a wonderful way. You stop and you take a look around you. You feel where your feet are. You feel what clothes are on your body and how that feels. You look at the walls and the lights and the windows. It helps you get present. It helps you stop thinking about, oh, that talk I have to give tomorrow. What am I going to do? I wish I hadn't done that thing I did before. I wish that I knew what was going to happen in the future. Should I buy lavender and plant it? What am I going to do? Being present helps shift you. Another thing that helps make that shift is forgiveness. And certainly making amends with someone that you have injured, but also forgiving yourself. Another way is being in gratitude and joy. Isn't that great? It's like making a decision to be in joy and instead of fear. And fear has lots of different disguises. And fear is very compelling. You can't be logical when you're dealing with fear, because it's always got a better argument, right? So you have to do it a different way. And being present, being in a place of forgiveness, being in gratitude, there's all ways to shift. And there's 100 other ways too. Simply remembering that God is everywhere and God loves us, right? As here in this place of fear, I forget that. I forget that I'm loved. I forget that God loves me unconditionally. And I know that I'm not the only one that forgets. So it's simply remembering God's love. I had a time when I was going through the divorce with my first husband, and the kids went and lived with him. And I, with the help of the therapist, went kicking and screaming to God, swearing, using all the bad words I could think of, and realized I had very limited vocabulary. And knowing that I could do that and throw a fit better than any 2-year-old you've ever seen, I knew that God would love me unconditionally even when I was doing that. And I felt God holding me while I was going through that very terrible time. I was in the pit of despair. And as I was there at the bottom of that pit, sitting there, feeling really pretty sorry for myself, I opened my eyes and saw the face of God. And that was my friend. And that's every friend here. That's my hairdresser who lets me, who gives me a hug those days when I really need it. It's the person in the grocery store who smiles at me for no reason, just gives me a smile when I really need it. It's that person who goes out of their way and gives me a kindness, who's kind to me when I really need it. Those things help me remember that God is everywhere and loves me unconditionally. That the pit of despair isn't a place that I have to stay. That I can relax and know that this isn't the way it's always going to be. Most of you know that my son passed away last July. And I asked him not long ago, I said, what's one thing that you've learned in the place that you're at? And he said, everything is love. So even in the pit of despair, that despair is love too. So maybe we don't always have to shift out of love, out of fear and into love. Maybe occasionally it's okay to sit with this fear and see what it's trying to tell us. There was a time when I was a self-storage facility assistant manager, and the boss offered me a job in the facility that he bought in South Sacramento. And it had a little house, and my daughter and I went to live there. And in South Sacramento, you hear gunfire most every night. I mean, it's not a very nice place. And I began to have a lot of fear. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, I can't afford to have any fear. So I turned off my fear. And I went and did this job. And there were times, I could tell you stories for a long time, but we won't go there. Things that happened, crazy stuff. And at the end of a year, it was like, I need to go. Something's going to happen. There's some need. I just need to get out of here. So I quit and moved to Roseville. And most of you know Roseville is this up-and-coming giant town. Well, when I moved there in '93, it was still a cute little place, right? And sweet place. And I had this fear. It's like, what is this? I'm afraid all the time, and I don't want to be. So one day I sat down, and I said, okay, fear, how big can you get? You got as big as me. I said, is that all you got? You got as big as the house? And it kept getting bigger, and I said, what are you trying to tell me? And fear says, how big do I have to get before you pay attention to me? I'm here for a reason. It's like, and fear and I made a deal that if I was really in danger, that fear would jump up and let me know, and then I could react. Because that's what fear's for, right? There's other times that I've had a heaviness and didn't know what it was, and I sat with it until the heaviness told me what it was about. So sometimes the fear is like pain. If you have a pain in your tooth, you go to the dentist, right? Pain in the gut, you go to the doctor. Maybe that's why God gave us fear, is to say, hey, your subconscious wants to tell you something and you're not getting it. So you come up with, why am I so angry all the time? That sort of thing. That's an indication that that the subconscious wants you to know something. That there is something that you're not paying attention to, something that probably others can see that you're not really seeing for yourself. Fear is like those little divots that they put alongside the road, and you go over, it goes, oh, okay, stay between the lines. So maybe God gave us fear to help us to remember. Come over here. Can you imagine God? It's like, oh, honey, why are you doing that to yourself? I'm right here. I can solve everything. I got all the solutions. Why? So, I think along with fear, along with love, oh, this feels so much better. God gave us choice. And a ringtone from my phone, I apologize. And choice, we get to decide. Is this a fear I need to spend some time with and feel whatever emotions are coming up? Or is this a fear that I need to just let go of? Is this stress that I can let go of? Or is this something I need to pay attention to? So choice is fabulous. It is freedom. And here on this planet, we have choice. So we get to choose whether we stay in love, whether we deal with our fears, and how we deal with them. And I'm so glad to be in a place of choice, because I no longer fear fear. I can look at it and make a different decision. My husband did something around football season that really upset me. And he apologized for it and that sort of thing, but it didn't matter. The next couple of days, I was bound and determined to get my revenge. Oh, you know, I thought that revenge, oh, it would be so sweet. And then all of a sudden I thought, what are you doing? Why am I spending time thinking these things and creating that energy when I don't need to do that? So I put that down and took on my love potion, decided this is where I want to stay. I love that man. He drives me nuts, but I love him. And I want to remember that. So here I am in this place between these two, when there really, honestly, isn't two. It's just love. But I'm in a place of choice. What is it? It's like every day, and sometimes every minute, we have to make the choice of where we want to be and where we want to stay. Do we want to gossip? Because sometimes that's kind of fun. Do we want to judge other people so that I feel better, I'm going to put someone else down? Or do we say, you know what, that person's probably having a bad day. You know, I wonder what kindness I can do or give to that person. Anyway, I'm not saying that I've got it all figured out, or that I'm always in love and that I never venture over to fear and have it slap me in the face. No. But as soon as I can, I remember that I have a choice. And I'm loving being this old because I'm really getting more and more that I have a choice. So I ask you,